Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the RotoWire After Dark Champions League show. My name is Jack Burkart. You can find me on Twitter at Jack Burkart, and I am joined, as usual, by best ball thought leader Ryan Belongia. Ryan, how was your DFS
Oh
weekend?
man.
Premier League was pretty good, and I finally won an NFL cash, which seemed impossible. But how did everything go for you?
Um, yeah, I won in NFL cash too, which was nice, and I won in soccer cash, but I didn't have any luck in GPPs, so it was sort of a break even-ish weekend. Yeah, but yeah, can't complain. I don't know. Like you said, we won in cash and won survive in advance.
It's been a lot of survive in advance. It's like you know, honor of Luis Pacheco. It's like when you win, you should have won more. I feel like that's kind of been my soccer season, but it feels bad to complain. There's probably a couple bad runs that I'm gonna go through before the end of the year, but whatever. Hopefully, that's not for this particular Champions League slate, which is really interesting. So I opened this, and for some reason, I was really tilted when I opened the slate and started looking at it because the prices were just like ridiculous to me. Like I thought we'd see Bayern Munich players like, priced at like Harry Kane at like 11K or something like this. Like we've seen like Kylian Mbappe, and like smash spots for PSG be 12K. So I was prepared to see Kane that. And he's under 10K. Leroy Sané is like in the mid 7Ks. The Manchester United players are priced like, they're absolutely terrible. And even though they're playing terrible, like 6.2K Rashford is ridiculous. So it's truly a play whoever you want slate. I don't know. For some reason, I think that doesn't make the slate as interesting, but as I study it more, it makes it a lot more interesting because like there's so much opportunity cost to every single lineup position that you take. I don't know. Before we discuss the matches, what do you think about the slate? What did you think when you opened it?
Yeah, I had kind of the same thoughts. Usually you're right. In most ways, you'd like it to be tougher pricing. I know we always talk about like kind of want to have less decisions. And here we have pretty much all the decisions. You're right. You can play whoever you want. It's an interesting slate for GPPs. Yeah, because of that. I mean, we know for Champs League the goals are going to be flying in. You can, yeah, you can play pretty much five forwards in your lineup if you want to. Yeah, cash games are kind of tough though. We're gonna have a midfield is really interesting. There's a lot of similar plays. Do you spend up? Do you play a couple mid-range guys? Defender, maybe not so straightforward. Maybe one. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just excited to have. I like Champions League slates. They're fun to sweat, even if we might not win as often. But yeah, some good games to watch at least. That Real Madrid Napoli game should be sweet. Um, got Arsenal on the slate. Yeah, Man U Galatasaray, that'll be a talking point. I don't know. It's a tough slate, but I'm still excited.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun. I don't know. At some point, like I was trying to make lineups, I'm like, oh God, what do I do? I don't know. You're just gonna have to get picks correct. And when pricing's really soft and there's gonna be so many goals, like cash games are basically like guaranteed to be tilting. It's like, you might open a head to and you're like, you can't play Rashford in a head to head. I mean, he's a pretty good play. I mean, and there's so many things that you can't do that you're gonna feel like it's wrong. Like we were talking about best ball. It's like it's all about what you don't do in these types of slates. So that'll be fun. Hopefully we don't do all the bad things and we do all the good things. You broke down some of the matchups, but for looking at it, the biggest favorite and biggest total is definitely Bayern Munich, who are underpriced, and they're against Copenhagen, who have like not been particularly good in the Danish Superliga, and they've been crushed in Champions League. You know, I think it was like last year they did extremely poorly. So this seems like an absolute smash spot for Bayern. I was trying to find like any nugget about this game that would be interesting, and apparently Copenhagen's field is kind of bad. So maybe we can take the field narrative, and maybe that muddies this game up a little bit. But I'm not sure I'm going to read too much into that. Manchester United are the biggest home favorites against Galatasaray. But I mean, I don't. I was kind of surprised to see them 65%. I mean, it is Galatasaray and Manchester United is a more valuable squad, but I mean, I'm sick of watching this Manchester United team just play terrible every. They're just not getting results right now. Arsenal against Lens, I'll look forward to hearing your thoughts on that match. I feel like Arsenal are kind of stretching it with their squad. I mean, I've been kind of a hater lately as a Tottenham fan, but like I actually have some like serious concerns about like the injuries with this squad. It's a tougher road game. That seems a little bit more of a fragile position, and then everyone's going to want to play the Real Madrid Napoli game. Um, but maybe we can talk about cash games just to get going. We have Harry Kane, who's at 9.9K, and he's a minus 225 goal scorer. Prices are usually a little bit more juiced on DraftKings. I saw FanDuel posted minus 165. That works out to be a few percentage points. And then you have an option like Leroy Sané at 7,300, Jamal Musiala at 5.9K. Do you think there's really any reason? I was trying not to play two Bayern forwards in cash games for some reason, but do you think there's any reason to not play two of those three options?
Yeah, no, not after. Yeah, thinking about it just now, yeah, I agree with how you broke those games down, but it just made me think maybe the slate is a lot easier than we sort of said at the start. Bayern's just underpriced. They're in the best matchup. Uh, it can't be too bad to just stack them, especially when United is in the second best spot. Like you said, though, they have not been impressive, and I think it was last week they were on a showdown slate against Burnley at home, or maybe that was 2 weeks ago. It should have been a smash spot, and they barely created chances and didn't put up many floor points. So, like, yeah, the second best spot after Bayern, what is it? You're right, Arsenal on the road. Their squad is thin. You know, they had injuries to Party and Trossard and Martinelli and Timber, and they've been in the stretch where they had to win games because they drew a couple games at home, and you know the title race starts from the first game these days with City. So yeah, I can see, you know, it's a tough spot for Arsenal going to France. Yeah, so to your back to forwards, I would just play two Bayern. We can talk about other guys. Maybe there's a couple other guys, but Bayern's just underpriced. So like who are you gonna choose over them for the same price? And I just don't know if I see anybody. I mean, you can throw some names out there, but yes, Sane seems like a lock for
Yeah.
sure, right? 7,300. I don't know how you don't play him. Uh,
Yeah, I don't know. Just to maybe throw some names out there, I also think Sane's a lock. If he has even a 10% chance to take set pieces and to chip away at Kimmich's load, I mean, that plus his open play floor, he seems most likely to go 90 minutes based on the forward. Kingsley Coman, 75, 80 minutes. Jamal Musiala, 75, 80 minutes. Kane will probably go, but he's a more goal dependent player. And I guess when I was looking at lineups, the question becomes, well, if I choose a second Bayern forward, do I play Harry Kane at 9.9K, or do I go down to Musiala at the forward spot? And the reason you would do that is because you want to play Bruno in a midfield position. I don't want to exactly dig into midfield right now, but I think that's
no,
a
you're
really
right
hard
though.
decision. I mean, I think it's wrong to play both given all of the value in the mid range. We can evaluate that statement later. So if you have to pick one, that's really quite difficult. I mean, Bruno's been outstanding. Even when you have Ericsson and Mount, Bruno is taking a bulk of the set pieces. I think he took penalties over Rashford. I don't know if that's continued. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. And he's just got a strong open play floor. And if you want a narrative, I mean, Manchester United have something to prove at home to Galatasaray. So, you know, I think they're going to want to score as many goals as possible. That's like not particularly good analysis, but there's good motivation there. It just does seem on paper, if you're kind of willing to ignore a bad patch of form for United, like an absolute smash spot for Bruno. It's also a smash spot for Kane. And I guess, conventional wisdom says play Bruno for the set pieces over Kane. But I don't know. What do you think of like 2v2s involving those two? Where do you lean?
Yeah, no, I think that's the toughest decision of the slate for sure. Um, I was looking at lineups that looked really good, but they don't have Bruno, and that's just always in the back of your head. And so then I'm not sure how good they actually are. Like you're right, like is Bruno a must or not? Yeah, maybe. And you're right, it's tough to afford him and Kane. I would like to play him and Kane, but it's really tough. I don't know. Yeah, I think that's the decision of the slate, I guess. Do you play Bruno or not?
Yep.
Normally I would just like it depends if there's a good punt, because like I don't know, there's a lot of good mid-range options. But then
Yeah.
I come back to like, does it depend? Like maybe it doesn't depend on any of that. Is Bruno just that good of a play that he's a lock in cash? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's really tough. Um, I think I'm just gonna Bruno's in my lineup right now. I'm playing some more, balanced type of construction. I don't want to play both. Maybe we do get some nice punts available. And if the punts are like particularly strong, I think you can like afford to not play a lot of these like very good 7K and 6K players. But it
Hmm.
just stinks to pay up twice and then have to punt more than other lineups who are getting great value on underpriced players just because, Kane and Bruno have huge ceilings. And I think I would lean towards having Bruno, but the forward spot isn't particularly strong for cash games, so maybe that's a vote for Kane in a way because if we put in Leroy Sané, I mean, I tried to write down my top plays for cash games, but Saka is a little bit too expensive, I think, in this spot. Maybe he doesn't play a full 90 minutes. I'm not sure what the update on his fitness is. I highlighted Politano and Angel Di Maria, but I don't think I can really do that when you can play nearby Bayern options. I just wanted to put in some non-Bayern options. And I guess I don't think it would be unreasonable to play Marcus Rashford instead of Jamal Musiala. I think Rashford's a bit more likely to go 90. He does have a pretty good floor of shots lately, better goal scoring odds. I don't think
Yeah, no,
that's insane actually. And Rashford, I think, is in contention for second forward spot if you don't play Kane.
yeah, I agree with you. That's who I think you should have highlighted in your article if you weren't going to go with a Bayern guy. Um, because yeah, no, people might not like. To me, Politano is the opposite of a cash play, the complete opposite of a cash play. You might think like on the surface, oh well, he's going to take some sets. I mean, the guy never plays more than like 65 minutes. See, his last start 63, 67, and it's like a neutral to tough matchup. Whereas Rashford or even honestly, even I'd play. Oh, I'm looking like how much is OC
He's
A
7,100,
little,
I think.
a little more. I thought he's 74, 74. Anyways, yeah, Rashford. I mean, because the floors are similar, but the goal upside is not similar. So it's just like kind of an easy decision.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things. Sometimes you're a little bit robotic when you write a lot of these articles. I'm like, well, Politano's on set pieces, good matchup, good total. It kind of just felt easy, like an easy, like some names just sort of like black holes that funnel you into the click. And it took me a lot of thinking to realize that Rashford, to even think Rashford would be a better play than Musiala. We usually don't use a player like Rashford in cash games, but he's just too cheap in this spot. And I opened up his game logs and the floor is good. And I think when I
Yeah,
opened up the game logs like an hour ago prepping for this, like I was like damn, like Rashford, he's got an 8-point floor to him. Like, and if that's the case, and you can pencil Rashford in for an 8-point floor, he comes preloaded with it, whatever you want to say. Then when you're doing 50% for a goal, maybe 10%, 15% for an assist, probably a smash spot for
yeah, for
Rashford.
sure. Yeah. Just want to clarify that it was the matchup really that I was talking about. If Politano was playing against Copenhagen, then yeah, then we want the guy on the biggest favorite that's going to take some set pieces. But yeah, anyways, Rashford, yeah, you're right. I mean, United have the second highest total on the slate. Rashford's probably going to play 90 minutes, can score hat tricks. So like, yeah, I agree. He'd be fine for cash just because he's way too cheap.
Yeah, I agree. Would you play Rashford or Jamal Musiala? I originally, probably if you asked me last night, I'd say Musiala, but I think in this moment, 14 minutes into the show, I think Rashford.
Yeah, I think I probably agree. Yeah, I think I agree.
Yeah, and if Rash and yeah, Rashford is I don't know. Sometimes my thoughts are usually a little bit more like less nebulous, but there's so many different plays on this slate, and if we can play Rashford at 6,200, it's almost I'm doing a complete 180 of my thought process. It almost feels like a mistake to pay 3,000 more. It's 2,700 more for Harry Kane when Rashford's range of outcomes are a little less elite, but at at $3,000 difference, it feels like I can just improve the other spots in my lineup.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what you try to convince yourself, right? No, I agree with you, but Kane play. I don't know, like Man U suck, and Kane plays on Bayern Munich, who just are don't suck. I don't know, like
But
I
the
s- I
field,
get your point, but yeah, like
the pitch might be a little bit
I
muddy
have my
though. So there you go.
yeah, I think Bayern like pretty much always score. Bayern pretty much always score a few goals in this spot. Man U, we don't know.
Yeah, they can blow it. I mean, who's
But
playing on
still,
the?
it's a big salary difference. So, like,
Yeah, I feel like it's like this is a sort of a spreadsheet versus knowing ball decision. Like if Kane's like, oh, I know Kane's gonna get his brace or something, but I don't know. I'm really
it's weird
tempted.
because, like you said at the start, Kane should be like 11K, right? And then you don't even think about it. Like, it wouldn't have surprised me if he was 11.5. I don't know.
Well, and
And
Rashford should be 9.9K, so it keeps on
or yeah, or
recycling.
at least like 8 something.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's tough.
it is tough. Well, good luck getting that. I do feel like whoever you choose as your forwards, that's the most volatile
Yeah,
option that get
I
played.
was just looking if a if a decent punt comes along, you could afford them all. You could afford Kane, Bruno, Sane, Kimmich, or whatever you want if a punt comes along. So I mean that is an option.
Yeah, I'll have to tinker a little bit more with the old cash game shell, but that's probably going to sort you out for that's probably going to sort you out for your cash game forward decisions. I mean, unless you want to highlight anyone else for cash, there's plenty
No,
of
I
tournament
mean
options we can get to.
yeah, for cash, you can't really you can't go below Musiala or Rashford, I would
No,
say,
I don't
right?
think
And
so.
then Sane is pretty much you got to play Sane. So then yeah, you're just deciding between Kane or a cheaper guy. I don't really see who else is in play.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Politano really should be, and he doesn't compare well to Rashford in this type of matchup. So my apologies to the readers, but you're getting it now. So all right, why don't we move on to midfield? So we've already talked about Bruno, and I guess if you're not paying up for Kane, you're probably using that money to pay up for Bruno. I mean, it's a smash spot for him. The question becomes, what do we do with our other midfield positions? Joshua Kimmich, there's not much clear. I don't really know what's going on with set pieces there. He's probably going to take most of them. Sane can chip in. It probably depends on game script. He took a bunch against Bochum. I think it was 2 weeks ago, and then their most recent fixture, I think Bayern Munich only had like one corner, and it was Leroy Sané who took it, or it was a short corner. There's just like not enough of a sample to really conclude anything. I feel like the most like reasonable range is that 3/4 of the set piece go to Kimmich. And in that case, he's 7,000. It's Bayern. They're at Copenhagen. I think you just click him, right? Is he a lock in cash games?
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough to probably, right? Probably.
You don't
But
really want to say that about a defensive midfielder who
right, and
might who
only
might like lose out on his set pieces, but
yeah,
um,
because you know, like you might say Bruno's a better play. I don't know. And like if Bruno was the priority, then I don't know, maybe Kimmich isn't a lock just because there are some guys a little bit cheaper. But I don't know, like I'd be pretty comfortable playing Kimmich in cash. I don't know. Just I guess I'll stop short of lock, but obviously he's one of the best cash game options. Like I'm gonna try to play him.
well, who's tempting you outside of Kimmich? I don't think Trossard starts, but I see some people reporting that he might. That's at 7.1K. Fabio Vieira at 5.2K is a pretty good play. Um, I hate playing Fabio Vieira. It's never really he seems to not play a full assortment of minutes and kind of has a frustrating range of outcomes, but you really can't argue with a 5.2K and potentially half of Arsenal's corners. I don't know. What do you think about like a Vieira at 5.2K?
Yeah, I think no, I'm with you in that Arsenal are too risky. The Arsenal guys are too risky. I wouldn't play them over like a Kimmich.
Yeah.
Um, I would maybe play Joey Veerman, depending on where he starts. Um, I'm he's been crushing. I'm pretty sure. But sometimes he plays more defensive. But he's taking like all of PSV's sets, and I think penalties too. And it's a pretty good matchup. I don't know. I was hoping you had an opinion on him.
Um, I thought he was a pretty good play, but if you're comparing him to Kimmich, they're both kind of more defensive midfielders. Maybe I don't know. Like it just feels wrong to play Veerman over Kimmich in this spot. You know, if you know that
Yeah,
Veerman's going to be more attacking, that $300, it can't get you. It can't quite get you far enough. So I do like Veerman. He's someone I highlighted as potentially like a contrarian play in tournaments, just because like the three favorites are going to funnel so much utilization, and then you're going to also get attention from this Real Madrid Napoli game. I think people might pay up for Jude Bellingham and stuff. So it just feels like Veerman might get lost in the shuffle, but PSV are favored. It seems like if no one's going to play Veerman, it might be fine as a contrarian option, but then maybe there's just not enough ceiling, which I keep going back and forth. I want to play some of these PSV guys, but I just look at who I'm comparing the players to, and it's like, well, I could play a Bayern player. I write this in my column. Every play you have to compare it to, you know, could you find $600 for Kingsley Coman? And that's just really
yeah,
tough for me with a player with Veerman's range of outcomes.
yeah. I'm with you. I would have been with you more so like a month or two ago. Into like I've been trying to fade Veerman on like all these slates, and I swear he just smashes every time. I'm trying. He has two goals and 3 assists in 5 Champions League games, 2 goals and 4 assists in 7 Dutch League games. I mean, somehow he's got a ceiling. But no, I'm with you. I just always it seems like he's going to be defensive, and I don't know. I haven't watched PSV much, but he just crushes. He just crushes me. I mean, I agree with everything you said, though.
I mean, I guess in a tournament spot, like if you're in a
Honestly,
line,
to me, it seems like Kimmich is the one that like. The reason I like hesitate is because I'm like, oh, do I just want my ho hum 12 points because I'm never getting more than that unless he somehow gets an assist from a corner kick. Or like, do I want my 14? At least like maybe I was thinking the opposite. At least maybe I get a lucky goal or something from Veerman.
who takes penalties for PSV? Is
I
it
think Veerman took the last one. I need
if he took the last one? Oh, geez.
it
Okay.
might be Luke De Jong, but I gotta check.
I was
I should
wondering
have
if
I should have done more. I haven't looked into PSV at all, so like I shouldn't even really be talking about them. Other than I just Veerman has crushed me this year.
I mean, if he has, assists and goals. I mean, so we're talking about let's just talk it out. We're talking about a player who can get 12 floor points rather easily with set pieces. I mean, PSV are favored against Sevilla. So that's notable. They're at home. So you're talking about a player who, if he gets an assist, he's looking at 20 points. And I don't know. I kind of make a rule for myself. If I'm spending money, which anything more than 6K is on this slate, I want my player, once they get that one return, they need to be capable of getting 20 plus points, because painting your lineup with guys who score 20 plus in larger GPPs, especially Champions League, that seems quite necessary. I mean, I guess Veerman does have that requisite, especially if he does take a penalty. He can get like 15% of the games he's starting at 12 points. Ozzy says Luke De Jong is on penalties. He's in the chat. I don't know.
Yeah,
We'll have to
no,
look it up.
yeah, okay, that's kind of what I thought. Maybe when Veerman took the penalty, De Jong wasn't in. Um, this is just what I'll say. This is what I've noticed. He's a little if this Schouten, I don't know how you say his name, Jerdy Schouten is in,
Mhm.
then he's going to be the most defensive. But sometimes Veerman starts with all other attackers, and then I wouldn't want to play him. But if he starts with this Schouten guy, then I think it might be okay.
Well, I think that's a pretty good shout. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see if he gets played. I really try not to guess ownership in soccer because it's just like so tilting and kind of impossible to
Yeah, I just
impossible.
remember like what the last slate he was on, he was 9,800, and I faded for sure. And then in high stakes, I see that he's like 90% owned or something, and he smashed me. So yeah,
That's the worst feeling on some of those slates when you make a fade and you're like, oh, I think I can fade this guy, and then the cards flip. This happens to me in Liga MX all the time. It's like 80%. Everyone else played, and I'm like, oh well,
I
good luck
actually
to me.
made, yeah, it was brutal. I think I actually probably made a little bit of money because I played this Saibari guy instead, who nobody played. He was like 8%, and he scored a first half brace, and it doesn't even do anything for me because Veerman somehow finishes with like 27 or something. Anyways,
When will it end?
yeah.
I think that's enough talk about the PSV players. I think this is probably the range we want to be spending in though at midfield, at least in cash. You
I
can
mean,
play
Rakitic
Rashford.
is in here. Your boy Rakitic is in
I
here.
know. I
Yeah.
love Rakitic. I always play Rakitic in these European slates, and he always seems to reward me. I should be more praiseful of these guys who always reward me. I always complain about Riyad Mahrez. I always complain about Erling Haaland. Ivan Rakitic, he treats me right. And I mean, if he starts, I think Adam plugged him in over Suso. He's going to be taking most of the set pieces and takes penalties. So everything that we just said about Joey Veerman applies equally well to Rakitic. And I promise you, like, I could tout him all day. I could scream from the sun and I would get laughed at, and he's going to show up less than 10%. So
Yep. Nope. You're right.
my
He's been
dummy
pretty good
lineup
this
for
year too. Pretty consistent.
my dummy lineup for the $44, the scissor kick, it has Ivan Rakitic in it. I'm feeling
Yeah.
yeah.
So this is last show. I said I thought Sevilla was in a good spot at home against, I think it was Rennes or some French league team. Maybe not
Lens, yeah.
Rennes. Lens. Oh, yeah. And they were not good. So that game was like back. Yeah, they were not very good. So then going into this game, I think, oh well, maybe PSV can beat up on this Sevilla team because they're not good. But this is like what always happens with Sevilla. And then like this is the spot where Sevilla comes out and plays well and beats PSV. And it just like always seems to go like that. So yeah, no, I mean I don't mind. I think Rakitic, like you said, no one's going to play him.
Yeah, I think he's viable. You have a penalty taker and a set piece taker, and no one's going to play him. So for that reason, I think he's a perfectly acceptable play in GPP formats. Yeah, Sevilla 25% to win with PSV near even money. That I guess I was underrating PSV. I guess these numbers
Right?
are pretty hard to make, but if
I
the
mean,
form's not particularly good for Sevilla, then so
yeah,
be
they
it.
were. Yeah, they were. They were worse than I expected them to be. I know it was only one game, but
Yeah, I think one of the things kind of forcing you to be in this 6K range. I was going to say, like, I think you could play Rashford in a midfield spot if you had to. This seems perfectly acceptable. You could use him in a utility. So anyone who has dual eligibility is probably fine in this sort of spot. Um, the cheap options just aren't particularly good. It's weird. Like the pricing's really soft, but we don't have like, sub 4K punts. It's just that everyone who should be 8K is priced in the 6K range. This does lend itself to balanced constructions. I mean, Casemiro's at 3.7K. I'll say his name again this week. Maybe he scores a stupid brace again. He always seems to get there. So go ahead, click that button, and it's the last one in for your Manchester United friendly teams. Hannibal is at 3.8K. Any punts stick out to you?
I wouldn't say stick out, but yeah, like you could take a chance on one of those United guys. I mean, there's a chance Mason Mount could start, and he'd be fine for 3,700. Casemiro, yeah, I don't do that, but yeah, he did it last time. He gets there sometimes. Hannibal, like there's risk there for Hannibal, but like he's cheap, and if United are creating chances, he's gonna pick up floor points. So he's fine. I don't know. Other than the United guys, though, not really, to be honest. I mean, if you're like, no one sticks out. If you like absolutely need a 3K guy, you could do worse than Mkhitaryan. But yeah, no,
3.3K.
yeah, no one sticks out to me.
Mkhitaryan, I don't think he's ever been priced more than 3,500 by DraftKings on a classic slate. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's always that you could do worse than Mickey sort of situation. I just feel like if you're playing cash games and you're spending in this range, you should probably re-roll unless like things materially change. So if Mason Mount is available, for 75 minutes, then I think that does open up a more lopsided construction where you just play Bruno and Kane and just dare the field to catch up with you. Um, especially when you're comparing a mount to someone like Joey Veerman, right? So
Right,
that sort of trade-off
exactly.
seems acceptable to me.
I mean, you could probably play Kane, Bruno, Sane, Kimmich, Mount as your 5. I think you can fit that with one expensive defender. You have to punt the other one, but yeah, it'd be doable.
Well, and then play a Bryce Samba at goalkeeper. But what a segue we have to the defender position. It's not particularly a strong position this week. The chalky option is going to be Federico DiMarco, and I even joked in my article I could just copy paste my stuff about Federico DiMarco every time. It's tilting. He always goes off at 65 minutes, except when I don't play him in the Champions League final, at least in the captain spot. And then I'm still tilted about that. And but he just gets such great attacking returns in those 70 minutes, and he's got legit upside for contributing to, with assists. Probably even has a goal in him. He shoots. He does everything you really want. Takes half the set pieces. I don't want to. I think I'm going to play him in cash. I think I don't see how it could go any other way. Um, but otherwise, looking down, I mean, nothing really sticks out. So I'm babbling over here. What do you think of the defender position?
Oh, I mean, that's how I would have broke it down with DiMarco. I mean, yeah, it's pretty much the same thing every time. He'd be incredible if he played 90 minutes, but just doesn't really happen until the Champions League final. Yeah, I don't. We talked about this last time, and then he didn't start. I mean, remember?
I do remember. It was like Aslani, and some people
threw
played
off
him.
everything.
Yeah.
No, it was they have another guy now who also takes set pieces, Chao Augusto or whatever his name is, the Brazilian.
Oh wow, I have to stat up if that's the case.
But that he went 90 over the weekend, and DiMarco didn't play. Again, you'd think for this game, but I guess you never know. Yeah, DiMarco for cash, right? It's not much of a decision.
Yeah, I did note he was rested over the weekend, so he's going to have the best 60-minute appearance of his life. Especially the more tournament lineups I enter him in, just click his minutes projection down, 30 seconds every single time should do you right. But yeah, I think you just play him. His range of outcomes is just too elite. And then if he does play 90 minutes and you don't play him, it's terrible. So I think worst case scenario, right? He leaves at 65 minutes. He's a very good play. That's the worst case scenario.
Right.
So,
You said it. Imagine if he plays 90 minutes. I mean, yeah, that's why he's so frustrating. 90 minutes of DiMarco, and he's literally the first guy in the lineup. Like I wouldn't make a lineup without him. So yeah, that's why it's tough.
Yeah, just got to trust the process, I guess. I wrote in
you
my
can
article,
fade in tournaments for sure, though. Yeah, you can fade in tournaments. I am not going to jam. I'm not going to jam DiMarco. I don't think.
Yeah, maybe if you want to play a Lautaro or something, I'll probably just, if I'm playing DiMarco, I'll probably just go for the assist and just hopefully that splash play happens for me. Otherwise, I like Gio Di Lorenzo in this spot. You scolded me 2 weeks ago, I think, for being a little too low on Di Lorenzo, and you were correct. And I actually think, given how popular DiMarco is going to be, plus the fact that I think punting, spending like 4.5K or less at both defender spots or at one defender spot, that's going to be the dominant construction. I think Gio Di Lorenzo is one of those contrarian plays that could help win you a big GPP. I just wanted to highlight his name. Do you agree with that assessment? Do you think you could sneak in a Di Lorenzo like at 10% and then could lap the defender position?
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100%, and it sure worked last time. And yeah, I'm just shaking my head because that was my plan last time. I did play him last time, but he was in my high stakes lineup. He was in my king of the pitch lineup. He was 6K last week too, and then we get 6K Peter Musa when we had touted this Benfica spot as just like the spot of all spots, So yeah, I made a last-second switch to Peter Musa instead of Di Lorenzo, and it cost me a king of the pitch ticket, and it cost me like winning the high stakes, and so yeah. Anyways, your point, yeah. I think a 10% owned Di Lorenzo or whatever. Yeah, the guy's got goal upside, and he's got a floor. Like if DiMarco didn't start,
I'd probably
play him in cash,
yeah.
right? Like, yeah, he's a good play.
Yeah, the cheap options just aren't good enough. We'll talk about them, but yeah, I want to roll out a few DeMarco and Di Lorenzo lineups. It's one of those times where the double defender, it's not going to be the chalk construction, and that's the Ryan Belongia special. That's what built this empire, I think, right? So it might be a good
You're
spot
right.
for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is. Yeah, just in general, when you have a slate that's priced too soft, right? Like, why wouldn't you try to spend up at both defender spots?
This is what
That's
I
how
was
I think of
thinking.
it. Yeah, yep, that's how I think of things.
I mean, what are you scared of? You can pay for all of your outfield. You can basically just pay 6 or 7 thousand across every lineup spot and punt goalie, and you can have a great lineup. Everyone in that lineup, your defenders are
Right.
good, and everyone else in your outfield can score a brace. So how is that a
Yeah.
bad tournament option? It almost seems
No,
like the best
I
strategy.
agree. I just, like sometimes if I ever get caught like thinking, oh, let me try to play Kane, Saka, Bruno, and like I'll play a cheap cent. Like you see all this other value, and it just doesn't make sense. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
We have Ozzy in the chat. He's saying Di Lorenzo not going to be busy dealing with Vinicius. I guess we haven't really talked much about this Real Madrid side, but maybe it is a pretty difficult matchup for him. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Does Vinny defend? I wish yeah, maybe I don't know. Maybe it's a tough matchup defensively, but maybe it's an elite matchup offensively. Again, no, I don't know.
I mean, I guess I don't know. I don't know Serie A that well, so I'm gonna get way out of my zone here. But Anguissa and Lobotka, I think, are more defensively inclined players. Like I think they'll be playing with two midfielders who are willing to clean up after Di Lorenzo making runs down the flank. That would be my impression. Is that wrong?
No, so this is where like I'm a bit washed when it comes to soccer DFS in that I haven't watched any Italian league this year or Spanish league. I mean, I haven't watched Napoli in the Italian league. I don't know, maybe I caught a Madrid game, but I used to watch these teams all the time and I don't really anymore. So I'm not really sure how that game is going to go. That's like one thing that I wish I knew. But yeah, I can't confidently say.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at the rest of the Real Madrid lineup, and there's some good players. I mean, Camavinga's a tidy player, even if he has to play left back. I think Di Lorenzo can frustrate him, but Camavinga's not terrible. Fede Valverde can always help in these situations, and he's an animal on the
The
pitch.
Real
So
Madrid players are unbelievable.
yeah,
Yeah, that's just that like it's a super team every time. Yeah, and so like it should be a pretty tough matchup. But again, then you see like they concede goals in the league, and like this, so this matchup could go a lot of ways. We know Napoli are one of the best attacking teams in the world.
yeah.
Um,
And like Real Madrid are just frustratingly inconsistent too. So I don't know. I feel like we don't really. It's tough to know what you're going to get out out of this Real Madrid side. Um,
yeah,
it's like they have like world beaters like Bellingham and Vinny and Tchouaméni and Camavinga, the great players, and then they also have like Hasselu out there.
that is
Like
kind of funny. Yeah,
it's
he
just
could.
so weird. No disrespect to Hasselu. I know he's been getting called up to the Spain squad, I think, but I mean, I just don't think he's at that level. Luka Modric is like a bit older. I will never. I don't want to say anything bad about Luka Modric because that's when he scores goals against me. But I don't know. It feels like you look at some pieces of the squad, you're like, this team's unbeatable. You look at other pieces of the squad, you think Napoli has an opportunity to do quite well. So a nice
Yeah,
volatile spot. I mean, maybe just
yeah.
play it in tournaments.
How are they starting? What 34-year-old Hoselu? He couldn't get in the Newcastle team. Remember? Seriously, just like it was a few years ago, they wanted him out of Newcastle. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, I I have no comments on that one. It's just kind of funny to see that name plopped in there. But
I'll be that game is awesome though. I'm excited to watch that game. I
yeah,
mean
it almost makes me
Bellingham,
not want to
he's
watch the six game or the Golazo show. I kind of
yeah,
just maybe I'll have
that's
two
like
screens and just have the Real Madrid on one and have Golazzo show on the other.
such a good game. Bellingham's been unbelievable. Like maybe he's just the best player in the world.
He might be.
I'm not
He
even
might,
kidding. Yeah.
he's unreal. I mean,
hmm
maybe just to tie a bow on this Napoli and Di Lorenzo discussion, we were talking about defender. We're feeling tangential today, which is fine. But I think if people think that, it's too tough a matchup for Di Lorenzo, then I don't know. I just think less than 10% utilization is probably going to be too cheap, especially when there's so much value on the slate. So, you know,
Oh,
top heavy
yeah.
GPPs, let me have it. Let me take a shot at that. I think that has the right risk reward structure.
Yeah, who are the other good expensive defenders or good
Do you want to
are
play
there?
Carvajal if he starts for 6,200?
No, definitely not. I mean, that's ridiculous.
I do have some things. I do have one item to ask you about.
I
I
don't. Sorry,
learned
I
that
don't think we'd be no. I don't think we'd be playing Carvajal if he was 4K.
no, that was a hilarious price,
Yeah,
especially in
yeah,
context with all the other pricing.
right.
Um,
So what were you gonna say?
I've been reading that Rafael Guerrero might start at central midfield next to Josh Kimmich in place of Leon Goretzka. He's expensive and he won't be whipping in crosses from that type of position. Um, so my inclination is that that's too expensive. He can play in the midfield though. So do you think Guerrero would be worth a squeeze in tournaments if he ended up starting as a defensive midfielder?
Yeah, I still would say yes because of the matchup, and just because like we're dying to roster the defender who scores the most points. Like I am at least, and like he would have a chance for that. So like yeah, well it might not be great if he was playing defense. I don't know. How many times we see Goretzka score an assist or
Yeah.
or whoever that they're playing Copenhagen.
I
So
did have a lineup where I had 4.9K left and I just clicked Goretzka because I think it had Harry Kane and I'm like, that sounds fine. He
right?
can contribute. It's not like a terrible play. It's just
No,
kind of
no.
mediocre. I think you're right though when you say the defender because I keep on butting more thoughts about this slate and there's going to be a lot of forwards who score 20 plus points on this slate, right? Like you're going to be able to mix and match a lot of them. Um, if one defender separates, that's in the nuts, no matter what. And that can
Hmm.
forgive you, having the 22-point guy instead of the 25-point guy. And I think this is just another way to state your point right there. And probably that game theory element would make Guerrero worth a shout, especially just because he is a player who is skilled at taking shots and crosses and stuff. So I think I
Yep.
completely agree. Just want to reemphasize a point that you've made several times on this show. Um, at the low end, Marcos Acuna seems fine at 3.9K if he starts. It's not the best matchup for Sevilla, but he's an attacking fullback. So is Jesus Navas at 4,200. Especially if that game gets up and down, Navas will start whipping in crosses. That would require Sevilla to control the game, though. Um, I have no idea what's going on with Sergio Reguilon. Like he came off with a hamstring tweak against Burnley. Like I swear, I was watching this, and then the manager says he was sick and then he misses the next game due to a leg injury. So I don't know what Eric Ten Hag is doing. It was just very confusing. Um, I don't know if Reguilon plays, but 3.7K, he should have had an assist, but like Johnny Evans obstructed the goalkeeper, so he might take a set piece or two at 3.7K, and that would be a smash spot if he starts. Do you have any opinion on bargain bin
No.
defenders?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think he'd be a good play if he starts. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd
I think
probably
if
just play him. You probably just have to play him.
if Reguilon starts, just you can like scratch this talk about playing Di Lorenzo and DeMarco in the same lineup because
Oh,
I think
right. Yeah,
Reguilon's too
yeah.
good. Um,
Right. For cash for sure.
yeah, for sure. And in tournament, just
Um,
because he's again Reguilon should be 5.5K probably, but not.
yes,
So
yeah, for sure. Um, the only other guy I like, well, no, I like a few other guys, but the other guy I like most is Mazraoui. Um,
yeah, Adam told me Conrad Lamer might start, but he's 4.5K. He's a pretty good player. He's an attacking inclined player. I played him a few times in like these 2 game slates with Ajax last year. I think that's where he was coming from, right? But
no, he was
oh,
on Leipzig, I believe.
Leipzig. Okay, well,
You might be confusing him with someone else.
that is certainly what's happening. Too many slates. But yeah, Mazraoui at 4.5K just by virtue of being on Bayern. He's a good play. Um, Ian Folletti is in the chat. He's saying Lamer would start at right back probably. So Oh yeah, Mizrahi, he's the one from Ajax. So I think Lamer was the one. I guess I was just getting my wires.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
That happens. It's not the first time I've swapped two players in my head. It's a bad result. So, all right, yeah, I think that makes plenty of sense. I mean, otherwise, it's probably okay to play a center back. Actually, is it okay to play a center back if you have to in cash? I feel like given all the value, I'm not sure actually. Now that I say that, do we want to get up to Marcos Acuna?
I would want to, but is it weird that I think playing a center back is like almost more okay in cash than GPPs? I just mean like if it's the only way to afford Kane and Bruno,
Yeah,
then maybe.
yeah,
Like if you don't get Acuna or Reguilon, I don't know. Like what if I don't know? Maybe there's somebody for 2,700 that like gets you all the guys you want.
yeah. Like,
And then it wouldn't be able to win you a tournament, but it could win you cash.
yeah,
You
you
know,
could just be the
that
5-point
sort of
guy, and
thing.
then you got 2 braces, and you're laughing your way to the bank. Victor Lindelof's 2.8K, so that looks fine. I mean, who was on Bayern? Upama, yeah, I mean, I guess you could use Victor Lindelof at 2.8K. If there's someone cheaper, go ahead and find him, but there's already an option sub 3K. That does seem acceptable. I get what you mean talking about the cash range of outcomes. It seems completely fine because you're doing it to get players that have legit ceiling. I actually did this last week in cash. I think it was a slight mistake in the Premier League, but a lot of people played Vladimir Sufal, who I thought was a good play, but I didn't think he was a must. And Jamal Lascelles was available at 2.5K. So I did the brainless thing and just clicked the value. He's technically overpriced. And the player I got in exchange was Martin Odegaard. And I cashed easily because Martin Odegaard scored 26 points.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's the type of thing that's
Right.
deciding between, getting Harry Kane and Kingsley Coman, it's probably best to play a center back, especially if they have decent clean sheet odds. No?
Man, how far have we come where center backs are the cash plays and spending up for defender is the GPP plays? It's unfortunate.
It's an ever-changing game that we play.
It's unfortunate. Yeah.
What about goalkeeper? I thought when I was looking at the slate at first that people might spend up because you can, but I don't know. It's Champions League. I'd rather use the 2,000. I'd rather use the 1,500 to improve my outfield. I'll play. I think Ozzy in there mentioned playing the Galatasaray goalkeeper. I'll play him. I'll play anyone. I'll play the Copenhagen goalkeeper. I'll play the Lens goalkeeper. He's the one I highlighted. I mean, whoever makes the lineup work. I don't think it particularly matters too much. Give me a home guy ideally, but I don't really care. Do you have a take on goalkeeper?
Just that people tried playing a 4K goalkeeper against Arsenal a few days ago, and they got 4 goals scored on them. Yeah, so anyone but the Lens keeper. No, I agree. Like I'd play the Lens keeper in tournaments, but yeah, no, I'm more likely to. Yeah, actually, I hadn't really looked at keeper until now. I guess
Wow.
there's not quite as many options.
I mean, okay, you could play Truman on Benfica. He's 4.2K.
You could play Truman. No, I'm cool with Muslera though, for sure. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, my thought, my
Nyland, if
actual
I could
thoughts
get
behind
there, I
Samba
don't know.
was he's at home, he's 4K, it fit in my lineup, and I'm not playing any Arsenal players in cash games. I don't think he'll be
Yeah, right.
particularly popular in cash
Yeah.
games. I don't know how much that matters. I know Jordan says it a lot, so I just kind of believe him, but it's not negatively correlated, which is kind of nice, and he should have an opportunity for saves.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, they have a 14% chance at a clean sheet. So what does it matter that you're not playing any Arsenal players in cash?
Yeah, I just know
know
that
what you
Jordan
mean.
says it.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, that makes sense. I do that too most of the time. Unless I have like a take. I don't know. Like, let's see what happens. It just seems like to me, Muslera will face more shots on target.
Yeah, it feels like Bayern are a more shot happy team. Just to do a counter thing. I've seen players like Pew Pew Pew. He doesn't care who he has in the outfield. He will just play whatever goalkeeper.
Right. No, we're talking about Grabara now. You mean Copenhagen?
Oh
I meant Muslera for Galatasaray.
Sorry, I got all.
But no, I like I don't mind playing. I know what you mean. I see sharp players playing Copenhagen's keeper all the time, and they'll play him with Kane and Sane too. Like, or it doesn't matter. So
Yeah, I mean,
that's fine.
just get out with your 6 points, and you probably make out like a bandit.
Yeah,
Considering.
I tried that again. I tried that maybe last week or the week before, and got like -10 or something. Whoever I
Well,
played, so.
that can always happen, and
Hmm.
you know, there's always the Wednesday slate if that happens to
Right.
you.
Yeah. Exactly.
Um, yeah, that's enough about goalkeeper. I mean, maybe we can do some tournament thoughts. I feel like there's some items that we've neglected that I did want to comment on, some questions that I had. Um, why don't you do you like the Arsenal players in this spot? One thing that we haven't really talked about any of them, but Eddie Nketiah is only 6K. That seems like a bad misprice. I was just talking about Samba, but we can talk about the Arsenal players. Odegaard 7.6K is fine. Gabriel Jesus, he played on the left wing a little bit. Maybe that's a little bit better for him if he's playing with Eddie. He's only 7K. Um, I don't know. Do you like the Arsenal guys and the GPPs, or you prefer the other teams?
I like Eddie for sure. Yeah, I was looking at him. I think 6K is too cheap. Um,
Has he
I think
underperformed? Do you think he should have more goals?
maybe have you seen like a stat or anything?
I was just asking you because it's your team. You probably watch them a bit more
Yeah,
closely than I
okay.
do.
I don't know. No, I don't think he's underperformed. I've actually been really impressed with him. He hit the inside of the post against somebody recently. Would have been an amazing goal.
Well, in a sense,
Yeah, I
he's
don't know if
underperformed then. Maybe he should have a goal or two extra on top of like maybe good center forward play, helping the team out.
right. Oh, sorry. I thought you meant my underperformed as in like not been very good or um no, yeah, no, I don't think that. I think he's an underrated player. And I mean, what 6K as Arsenal's center forward really is why I like him.
That's
Um,
probably all you need to know.
that's pretty much it, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
But I actually think he's good. But I actually think he's good too. I wasn't sure. Like when he first started playing, sure most people thought like this guy just doesn't seem like he's good enough for Arsenal. They just had no forwards for so long that he had to play, and he come up through the academy. But I've actually been pretty impressed. I'm glad that they kept him. Anyways, I think Hoyland for the same price is a really good GBP play, but well, I shouldn't say really good. Maybe he'll be popular. I don't know. Maybe he'll be pretty popular. I think he's a good GBP play.
I think Rashford's going to be more popular, and it's
Yeah, me too,
tough for me to play
for sure.
both Højlund and Rashford in the same lineup. I don't see them assisting to each other much often, and they're kind of cannibalizing the same goals. But
Yeah, I think
I should
I think
mention
that
Lautaro scored 4 goals off the bench over
I
the
was just gonna.
weekend for Inter.
That's where that's that's where I was just gonna go. I think the Inter. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I think the Inter guys are kind of sneaky. I don't think people will really want to target that game. Um, but
It's
yeah,
probably going to be the
Lautaro.
fifth most popular game, right?
Right. Um, Lautaro, you mentioned, just scored 4 goals. Marcus Thuram, he's really interesting to me. I mean, sometimes the guy just looks like an absolute world beater. Um, so tough for defenders. He's such an interesting one for me because he's 26 years old and he was on Mönchengladbach until just this last year. Like, I don't know. It's weird. It's like, was he like a late bloomer? Like, what happened? Because he's the son of Lilian Thuram, just French legend. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I see him play and it looks like an absolute handful. Um, yeah, so the inner guys are interesting to me.
As a midfield spot, I always like to sprinkle in a little bit of Rafa Silva. I know Benfica absolutely bombed, but 6.4K, he's a very good player, I think. And one of these guys that can score a brace. And I mean, talk about less than 5%. Who on earth is going to play, Rafa Silva? So I'd be fine, especially if you want to play that game for goals. Like I said, I don't think anyone's going to really be there. Probably Lautaro will probably get some attention because of the recent 4 goal
Yeah,
performance, but
I don't think anyone's going to play a Benfica player.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe Di Maria. I mean, funny, we didn't even talk about Di Maria for cash games. I guess,
it's the
I
same
don't
thing
know.
with
I don't know what to
Politano, but
say.
I guess Di Maria plays a bit longer. I mentioned those two in a bundle together. We decided that
Yeah.
we liked Rashford more, but that seems fine, I think. But it's just the lowest scoring game environment, and I don't know. Does he take penalty? If he takes penalties, I guess you could do it. I mean, you
Yeah,
said no
he
one's playing
does.
them, so it's fine.
Yeah, seems okay. He takes pens.
Yeah.
So what, are people going to look to this Napoli-Madrid game, you think, or like?
I think there's some name brand plays that people are going to want to play. So I think the three most popular spots are going to be Bayern and then Manchester United because they're so cheap. And then people are going to play Arsenal. Then, out of these three games, remaining matches, what looks most appealing? And, you have good prices on the Napoli players. Victor Osimhen is 7,300. I forget what I wrote down for his price, but low 7K, that's a good price. KK, he's just 100 more. I mean, how often do you see Osimhen and Kvaratskhelia priced below 7,500 together? So that's that feels ridiculous. I mean, you can play Piotr Zielinski. We were talking about playing Joey Veerman, and if you don't have Politano starting, Piotr Zielinski could be fine as a midfield play. Like, he's cash worthy. I wouldn't scoff at you if you played him. So a lot of good players on that side. And I think people are going to want to play Jude Bellingham. He's 9,300. So I was wondering if he's going to be popular or not, or it's just going to be like, you want to click Jude Bellingham. It like feels good. Like you want to sort of see him do well. Just a popular player. So I don't know. Do you think people are going to be willing to pay that 9,300 for Jude Bellingham, or do you think he might like come in a little low owned if you want to attack that match?
No, I don't think people are going to play him. No. It's too expensive. Yeah, it's too expensive.
It feels egregious to play him over Bruno, and then you're doing the thing where you'd have to punt a spot if you do play him.
I mean, Jack, people think like 7,500 would be a little too expensive.
I mean, look at his game logs. I thought it was
No, trust
expensive,
me,
but
I
the
know.
dude's scoring for fun. This is like,
Trust me, I know, because I've kept playing him and nobody else has been playing him. Because yeah, it's one of those where he seemed too expensive even when he's 7,500. But you got to take into account that he's just the best.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm serious. Yeah.
Like look at. I'll just read off some of the game logs. So it's like over the weekend at Girona, 75 minutes. He got a goal and assist and 32 DraftKings points. That's a 14-point floor. Like,
yeah. Look at all his other games. He always goes 90 and he pretty much scores in every game.
It's unreal. Like, I don't know. I feel I feel like if people are not going to play Jude Bellingham, I'm not sure I believe that. I think like he's not going to come in like really low. Like there are people just going to play him because he's Jude Bellingham. But
the thing is, like, it's a big price tag. Like, you got to score a goal and come up with a floor probably on a Champions League.
Yeah, you want 25
slate.
points with that sort of price tag. But if you're
Which,
looking at chalky Bruno, 30% maybe versus a 10%, maybe I'm just wrong on these numbers. It feels like you could build a Bellingham lineup and it'd be fine. But it is a big sacrifice. Maybe you need some punts to become available. Maybe you need that only cheap defenders are available in the player pool.
yeah.
It could happen, but I think you've convinced me that it's probably a bridge too far.
Yeah, and I think you unfortunately convinced me that well, I don't know. It's gonna be tough to get to these Inter guys. I just see the two Inter forwards are the exact same money as the two Napoli forwards. 75, 74, 75, 74. You see that?
Yeah, it just feels dirty to play Lautaro over Osimhen.
Yeah, it does. Like either of them, right? And,
yeah.
But
I mean, no one's going to play Thuram.
Right. It'll make their ownership lower.
Yeah. Why not?
Is everyone just going to stack Bayern?
Yeah, this is going to be like I'm going to tell you what's going to happen, Ryan. We just talked about all these amazing strategies, all these 6K guys that we can play, such good spots. We're going to get like 70% total ownership in our lineups and these GPPs with all guys that can score a brace. And Bayern are going to score 7 goals, and the winning lineup's going to have 6 Bayern outfielders in it, and it won't matter.
Mm-hmm. Maybe you just play the best plays instead.
I'll never play the best plays. You know what I'll say to that? There's always the Wednesday 2-game slate that comes up the next morning. You can just win it all back then. You got anything else, Ryan, other than play the best plays? Any other last word for the people?
I'm just thinking to myself, probably my best Champions League day ever was stacking Bayern on a slate like this. Full stack, 6 Bayern players. I'm just remembering. Trying to
Maybe all
figure
these
out what
other
to
games
do.
are a distraction. It might be this thing. It might be like an NBA DFS thing where the best plays are just still too low owned. Like is Harry Kane like 30%? I don't know what that would be. Like it could be too. It could be too little. Like Leroy Sané could come at 60%, and then someone could come in with a black box computer, Redcoat's computer, and say that was too low, and I'd be like, yeah, that sounds about right. So.
But yeah, of course it's tough. They failed in this spot too. They failed in this spot last year too. I remember at least once. Yeah, I don't know. It'll be fun. These Champions League slates are always wild. I mean, whatever happens, you're gonna look back and be like, "Oh shit, I should have done this." Hopefully not, but yeah.
I can actually enjoy these even if I do poorly. Like in Premier League, if the slate's going poorly for me in cash, like I can't stomach watching some of these horrible games.
I'm kind of with you actually. Champions League, even if I know by halftime that I'm like not even gonna get $1 back, I can still enjoy the games.
Yeah, why not? You get to watch Jude Bellingham. You get to watch your boy Marcus
Mm-hmm.
Thuram. All is well in the world on a Champions League afternoon. So let's call it a wrap at that. It's been an hour. Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for everyone joining us live instead of watching Monday Night Football. Ryan and I will be hanging out in the Discord, so rotowire.com/chats. If there's any punts, you'll hear them there. Why don't you give us a thumbs up if you've been here? Give us a subscribe. We're over 1,000 subscribers, which is very exciting. And yeah, show some love. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. We'll be back tomorrow night to tilt or celebrate, probably tilt. And until then, we'll see you next time. Good luck, everybody.
Good luck, everybody.